Hey everyone, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, and today we got a 4K review for you guys. We're going to take a look at the brand new 4K release from Universal of Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. This is going to be available on February 2nd, and this steelbook is a Target exclusive. I got my hands on this Target exclusive early, courtesy of High Def Ninja, so shout out to them again for supporting the channel. But there's also going to be a standalone release available everywhere on February 2nd. So before we dive into this review, if you have any interest in physical media, collecting movies, 4K, home theater, please consider subscribing to the channel. Help us hit our goal of 100,000 subscribers in 2021. I'd really appreciate it. And with that being said, let's jump right into things. So Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing is really the movie that put Spike Lee on the map. This movie was a huge success. It was nominated for 2 Oscars, including Best Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor, and it got a ton of attention in the early 90s, and it was really, like I said, the movie that made Spike Lee a household name. He also kind of, I would say, stars in this movie, co-stars in this movie. John Turturro stars in this movie. There's a lot of people who you'll see in this movie. Giancarlo Esposito. A lot of people who kind of launched their careers. Rosie Perez. There's a lot of people in this movie who kick-started careers with the success of this movie. So it's an important movie. It's as important and relevant to watch now as it ever has been. And I think that's part of the reason why Universal decided, let's do a 4K master and get this out and release it to the masses. Now, the interesting thing about the physical media release of this movie is that there is an old Universal Blu-ray from 2009, I believe, and then there is a Criterion Blu-ray, and that was the 4K master, but it was on a Blu-ray disc, not a 4K disc, so it was 4K mastered, downscaled to 1080p for the Criterion release. Now we're getting the true 4K release released by Universal in the steelbook and the standalone version. So there's a lot of options here and a lot of things to look at, and I got a chance to look at all of them. So I'm going to give you my thoughts here on the picture quality, the audio, and the overall packaging and options you have throughout the different releases. So on picture quality here, what we've got is we've got a 4K master and we have HDR10, no Dolby Vision or HDR10 Plus, just the base HDR10, which is usually fine. This picture is very, I would say, consistent and very faithful to the original source, much like the Criterion release was. This movie takes place, it was shot in 40 days over an absolute heat wave in New York, and it has a very like yellow, orange, like hot feel to it. It has a very warm picture to kind of give you that feeling of the heat wave they were going through. And the Criterion does a great job of that as well with the color scheme. But the Universal Blu-ray that came out before this is kind of like they completely washed that out, and it made for a very like clear image. It didn't have that orange yellow tint. It was very white and bright, but it kind of lost the original look and feel. So luckily they've corrected that here with the 4K master, and both the Criterion and this 4K release are going to have what I consider to be the correct color scheme, the correct color balance throughout the movie. Now, this is pretty close to the Criterion in terms of a resolution. When you have a 4K master and you have Criterion doing that, I've talked about this before, Doctor Strangelove, Pan's Labyrinth, many times the Criterion 4K mastered Blu-ray in 1080p is pretty indistinguishable just in terms of detail and resolution compared to the eventual 4K disc. And that's because, Criterion does a great job. They don't compress much. They have really nice transfers. They do a really good job so they can match up to 4K. And it's probably part of the reason why they haven't made the leap to 4K Blu-ray themselves yet. So Do the Right Thing is no exception. It's very, very close to the Criterion Blu-ray. So if you have the Criterion Blu-ray, it's going to be a bit of a hard sell to take the leap to 4K. The HDR10 does make a difference, and it does help with some of the brighter colors. Reds are very, very bright here. Blues really stand out, and the orange and yellow tint, I think, is a little more consistent. It's a little more well balanced. It's less in your face than maybe the Criterion. HDR just gives you a little more color space to work with. So there's minor things like that throughout this 4K release that would beat the Criterion. But if you've already dropped $25 on a Criterion Blu-ray of this, it's gonna be really hard to get you to upgrade to 4K, because I can't say that there's a $20 difference in quality. Now, if you're still dealing with the old Blu-ray from Universal from 2009, this is a definite upgrade. Huge difference in color, huge difference in resolution, so detailed, the correct color scheme, everything you'd want, a very faithful visual representation of this movie. Now on the audio, the interesting thing is that this 4K release comes with a DTS-X audio track. So that is sort of your DTS equivalent to Dolby Atmos. It's the highest end audio that you can put on a release right now. And on the Criterion, they only have the DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. Now, did I hear a huge difference between the two? No, because again, the movie, very dialogue driven. Although there are some standout moments where DTS-X really takes it to the next level. Anytime there's a big musical score happening in the background, I mean, just the opening credits, I was like, okay, big difference here. Like, this is much more engaging. It's a lot louder. It feels more full than the previous track. But that may or may not be a selling point for you. If you've invested in multiple speakers, you have a DTS-X or Dolby Atmos setup, that's going to be worth it. But again, I think the majority of people still only have 5.1 or working with, sound bars and other things. So if that's the case, you're not going to see a difference here in the upgrade. So that's going to come down to personal preference. The DTS-X is better. That is a benefit of moving up to the Universal 4K release versus the Criterion, and it's certainly an upgrade over the old Blu-ray, but I don't think it's a deal breaker if you have the Criterion. Again, probably not worth the $20, $25 to double dip on this release to get DTS-X. But it is a very good audio track. Music sounds great. Dialogue is very well balanced. It's the best it's ever sounded by far. So that's a plus, but it's just not a huge leap over, what's already available in Criterion. This is kind of the trend of this review. If you have the Criterion, it's going to be hard to justify double dipping and upgrading. Now the packaging and special features, right? So we've got this cool steelbook. I really like this steelbook. You guys know I don't love most steelbooks, but this one's pretty cool. Has a lot of cool artwork on it. Just open this up for you. Full like this, and then on the inside you do have the disc art. You've got some more artwork on the inside, and you've got the 4K and the Blu-ray disc. This also comes with a 4K digital copy, which the Criterion Collection release will not give you. So that's something to think about, a little point of difference as well. And the packaging, this is pretty similar to the Criterion packaging. They use a lot of the same artwork and symbolism, but the Criterion one's red. It's in a digipack. This is a steelbook, and then there's also just the standard 4K release. I'll put a picture up, but it basically has artwork very similar to the disc art, and it's just your slipcover case standard release. And so the disc has over 4 hours of special features. And I was trying to do a 1-to-1 with the Criterion release special features and this 4K release, and I'm pretty sure that it's the same. I mean, there's a ton of features over 4 hours here. So I was just going like matching up 1-to-1, 1-to-1. I don't think I missed any, but it should be the same. I don't feel like you're getting anything extra in the Criterion, although you are getting a booklet full, it's like a 100-page booklet with some essays and things that you don't get here. But special features are on the 4K disc as well. There is the movie with the intro by Spike Lee, so you have that. You also have the Do the Right Thing 20 years later, deleted and extended scenes, behind the scenes, making Do the Right Thing, the riot sequence. You got a commentary with Spike Lee. There's tons of stuff on here, and it feels like I'm pretty sure it was 1-to-1. Criterion might have had like 1 or 2 that I missed that were exclusive, but I was just, it's hard to do. I'm looking at bullet points and just like matching one, yep. And I may have missed one, but I think it's pretty much the same. So, if you have the Criterion, great, you've got all that stuff. It's all on the Blu-ray disc. Most of that stuff here is on the 4K disc, which is even cooler. So not a huge, difference there between the two. So overall, Do the Right Thing is a very nice 4K master. Universal did a great job. It's super detailed. They finally fixed the color. Everything looks the way it's supposed to. I mean, you can see beads of sweat dropping off of people. You can see like those really intense details that you want to get from 4K. So it's a really good job by them. My overall feeling is this. If you have the old 2009 Blu-ray, or you even have an old DVD, then this is a no-brainer. You should be upgrading. But the question is, what do you upgrade to? And I think that comes down to your personal preference as a collector. Now, I will say this 4K disc, this is the best. This is just slightly better than the Criterion Blu-ray because of the HDR. It's slightly better on audio because of DTS-X versus the 5.1 master audio. It has slight upgrades here and there. But if you're a Criterion fan and you want that packaging, you want the booklet, you want it to go into your Criterion collection, I don't think you can go wrong, because at least the detail is very close, the color is corrected, and you get all that, the extras that come with Criterion. So it's personal preference for you. For me personally, I would probably go with the 4K because I'm just a stickler. I always want the absolute best no matter what. And this is better than the Criterion. But like I said, if you're a Criterion fanboy and you love the Criterion collection, I don't think you need to upgrade to this disc. I think you'll be very fine with what you have and very happy with it, and it'll look better in your Criterion collection. So personal preference, you guys decide. I will put links to both options down in the description. They are both using that same 4K master, so you're getting roughly 95% of the same image regardless of which one you go with. So that's a good thing that they didn't really change things up here and they kept it consistent. So thank you for watching this review. Do the Right Thing is going to be available February 2nd. This is the Target exclusive steelbook, so I'll have a link to that. I'll also have a link to the standard 4K and the Criterion Blu-ray 4K mastered Blu-ray. All those will be down in the description, so check those out. Make sure you subscribe and have your notifications on so you know when I have new release and early reviews like this. You get the first kind of look at some of these releases as I get them, so that's always really cool. And make sure you follow me on social media, Instagram and TikTok, which has been really blowing up. I'm getting the physical media community growing on TikTok, which is awesome. We got to inspire that, next generation of people to collect, and lots of good things happening there. And make sure you check out all the other links, ways you can support my channel and things that may be helpful to you. So yeah, with that being said, that's all I have for this review. You can't go wrong with Criterion or 4K. You make the choice, personal preference. But thank you for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and stay healthy out there, and I'll talk to you guys soon.